jiu-jitsu, tight, straight from work. They throw their bag down. They get their gi on. We do it. If something's got to change in jiu-jitsu, it's the damn warm-up. So we do this warm-up that's, you run, you hit, you shrimp out, you forward, you do something, and then you stop. And you do technique while you're cold, and then right into hard rolling. It's like the silliest thing. It's sidebar, but then class ends and people put their stuff on and they sit in their car and they commute back to work. And I'm like, there has to be this balance. You can have a tension and aggression and hard rolls. You can't have that every single day. You can't do it every single time you train. You have to do loose with tight, fast with slow, cold with hot.
Yeah, it's so important. And I totally agree with you on the warm up in jiu-jitsu. And when I teach classes, like I do a very functional warm up. And after class, I do a stretching and breathing cool down.
Wow.
With a moment of
Novel.
relaxation a moment of relaxation at the end. Yeah. And literally people after class walk away going, oh my God, I should do this all the time. And unless I make them do the cool down at the end of the class, guess what? They never do it.
They don't.
But every time I do the cool down at the end of class, it's like it's literally like a 10 to 15 minute mini yoga routine with conscious breathing and just getting into the major movers that we just stressed in jiu-jitsu.
And I wish that there was like I mean, I'm glad there's not like an oversight governing body of all of jiu-jitsu, but I'd love to go and sit down with it.
Rule.
Yeah, and say, hey, one, we got to make this warm-up more functional. Everyone who's coming in here, aside from athletes, their backs are destroyed and their hips are super tight and their necks are all jacked up. So we got to address that in the beginning. Second, we need to do the technique, sure, but that has to get progressively warmer as you then roll. So even if it means do all the technique and then now let's take 5 minutes to run through the dynamic warm-up. So maybe class starts with the technique, then the dynamic warm-up into the thing, because people hurt themselves because they go from sitting on the ground watching technique be done, a couple attempts at it, and then they stop and do conversation about life or whatever. And then everyone's waiting to roll. So they're waiting for that moment, and then they get it. And it's everything that we know about. Think about if a yoga class was taught the way a jiu-jitsu class was. Good luck staying open for a week.
It's catalyst for injury. And so I think you're so right. Like, okay, let's talk about a functional jiu-jitsu warm-up. Running around the room. Good.
The click though. Watch the click.
Sorry, I keep touching these pens.
No, it's okay.
I'm fidgeting.
I've learned
to
just call it out. I've learned to just call it out. Call it out and move forward, because otherwise it's like hours on end trying to edit these little noises.
Why?
No, you're good. You're
clicking.
Good.
Yeah. No, sorry.
You're good.
But I lost my thought.
We were talking about the warm-up structure of.
Oh yeah, so the perfect warm-up in my mind, a really ideal warm-up: run around the room, run outside, inside, and backwards. Then do crossovers, get some ankle and foot moving, get your basically blood flowing. Do your rolls, do your hip escapes. Then it needs to be functional drills, like movement drills with a partner. Mind-blowing concept. Functional drills that teach the movements of training. And like there are so many of these solo and partner drills that teach the movements of jiu-jitsu so that you can warm up your body. And essentially it's mobility training. If you do the movements kind of half-assed, it's not. But if you take it to your range of motion each and every time and work on the principles of balance and alignment, you're doing mobility training when you're doing your jiu-jitsu drills. And then when it comes to technique, you keep it simple. You keep people very specific with either a set time to drill the move, or you give them a specific number of reps to do on each side. And you got to keep the ball rolling. Otherwise, people do exactly that. They do 2 reps and they have a chat about lunch, and then they do this. Like I don't mind the chatting.
I think it's because what happens is people, when you put a time limit on it, you're gonna do Toriano pass, 30 seconds first guy, 30 seconds second person, and switch, and we want you to do 3. Management of expectations. You know exactly what you need to do. You start to do it. As soon as you're done, you switch, you do the thing, and now you're moving on. When there's no management of expectations, you don't have a time limit, you don't have a rep count, you don't have a movement. It's kind of like, this is what we're going. And usually it's something that's kind of way over 90% of the people's heads in the class because they're newer and they don't really know what's going on. You get to training, one, they can't figure it out, so they don't know what they're doing. And that creates like insecurity about it. You don't want to do the wrong thing, so they stop and they look to see what other people are doing. The second thing that happens is it's jiu-jitsu, therefore there's a lot of contact and there's touch and you're wrestling. And when you're doing that, people get uncomfortable when they start to pay attention to the fact that that's what's going on, and they stop. When they're just going through the movement of what you're supposed to do, it could be something so simple like a knee pass, knee pass, knee pass. Now you're moving the body, you're moving the hips, you're moving the knees and the ankles, and you have deceleration, acceleration, all these things that are really prepping you for the later moments in class.